All right, guys, we are going. I apologize for the delay, but welcome to the perfect storm. If you can hear me, comment below just to make sure this is all working right, and we'll get started. All right, I think we are good. So, the perfect storm, this was a workshop that we had originally planned to do in our office live with parents as kind of a date night out. We were going to have food, maybe some wine, and make it more interactive and engaging that parents can ask questions and connect. And due to all the stuff going on right now, we have shifted and adapted to a live webinar. So, if you have questions, make sure you comment below. We have staff paying attention at the time so they can also help answer some questions. Make sure to like, share if you know someone who could be benefiting from this right now. You could be watching this live or you may be watching this later, but thank you for listening in. And what is the perfect storm? Well, the perfect storm is something that we've kind of noticed through patterns of disconnected and stressed kiddos over the last 8 years in our practice, as well as listening to moms and dads on kind of their stories and their journeys of what they're going through. And so today we're going to talk about what we've seen with these kiddos and kind of ways that we address it here in the office and can hopefully provide some answers and hope for you guys. So the plan, again, hope, answers, help. We believe knowledge is power. I also believe that with knowledge comes responsibility to act. And so my goal is to not just bring hope, because a lot of times parents who are coming to our office, we're not the first place they go. You know, they've tried the different doctors, they've tried nutrition, they've tried different medications and therapies. Some have helped, some haven't, but they've always been told to keep hope. My goal is less hope, but more potential. I want results. We want to create strategies that you can see objective changes in your kiddos and their outcomes. And so today we're going to be diving into that as much as possible. But before we do, I want to talk a little bit about myself and where I kind of come from. So I grew up in Seattle, Washington. My family is all back there. And I grew up playing outside all the time and sports and swimming and playing in the woods. And eventually, through athletics, I got a scholarship to run track and field and cross country at the University of Washington. Go Dogs! And through that time, I was able to, become a three-time All-American and qualify for Olympic trials and do a lot of really cool things athletically. But during my time at the University of Washington, I started struggling with injuries and health issues. And thankfully, after a period of time, my coach had sent me to a chiropractor, and not just any chiropractor, but the perfect chiropractor for what I needed at that time in my life. You see, through care with this chiropractor, I was able to compete at a higher level, train, and remain healthy, which was huge for me. But over time, I started realizing that I wasn't getting sick as often. I was sleeping better. My allergies were getting better. I wasn't taking the same medication. And I learned that my body was adapting to life better and functioning at a whole different level. And through the guidance from that chiropractor, I decided to go to chiropractic school in Atlanta, Georgia. And it was there in Atlanta, Georgia, that I met my wife, Dr. Chelsea, which many of you guys know. And early on in our relationship and our experience and journey in chiropractic school to get our doctorate of chiropractic, we became really passionate about kiddos and passionate about pregnancy, because we know if we want a healthy, thriving community and world, we need to start as early as possible, allow them to be healthy. So we really felt called to love and serve others, and we use chiropractic as a way to do that. And our why and our mission. So you'll see on the far right here, that's Dr. Chelsea and Nova and myself. This was when we first signed our lease, our letter of intent for our current Rochester office. It was in the winter of last winter, and it's been a crazy journey. We have been super blessed during this time, this process, through this community. The parents and the community have just been amazing. And so we're right here on Winton Road, right across from the Winfield Grill. So come check out our office. It looks gorgeous. The two pictures on the right, you're going to see our daughter Nova. Or on the left, the far left is her in our Seattle location, and then the middle one is our Rochester office. And kind of our why is, one, we want to have a healthy, or our mission is to have a healthy and thriving community and healthy families who are connected and avoiding the unnecessary medications and interventions that we're seeing these kids go through more and more. But also, we want to teach our daughter how to be healthy and how to love and serve others. And you'll see her in the office, especially once all the COVID stuff ends. She's encouraging these kiddos, holding their hands. She's adjusting, um, running around, being funny. So our office is really designed, one, to serve our community, but also raise up a daughter who's going to do the same in the future. And so that's really our why and our mission behind what we do and why we're so passionate about it. When you come into our office, when you become part of the Tree of Life family, you are family, and we treat you the same way. And so we're really excited to meet you. Our office is also outcomes focused. What we mean by that is we want you as parents to notice and see changes. We want the kiddos to find ease and see changes, but we also want to measure those changes and track those changes so we can objectively have better outcomes. And so we do that in our office. So whether that's that birth experience you really wanted, or your little kiddos latching better, sleeping better, digestion, or your kids just healthier and able to play and thrive. And so that's really important in our office, is to get the results and be transparent with you. We want to have tough conversations. We encourage questions. We want you to question what we're doing in our office, why it would help you and your family, just as our expectations you do that with your other doctors and other decisions we make in our life. So ask questions, we encourage it. And if we don't have an answer, we'll help find an answer with you. And so know that's always available. So before we get into this, I want to do what's called an awareness test. So go ahead and kind of follow this video here. This is an awareness test. Yes, it's 30. But did you see the Moonwalking Bear? Did you guys see it? See, it's easy to miss something, guys, that we're not looking for. So our goal today is to really look deeper, look for something new that we might be missing, and hopefully we can bring some of those to light, to awareness, like that moonwalking bear. And the facts are crazy. Here are the facts. 1 in less than 50 boys are being diagnosed with autism. 1 in 9 children have asthma. 1 in 6 children have a learning disability. 1 in 5 children are defined with a mental disorder. You see, these are scary, and these stats are getting worse. And so my personal professional opinion is we need to start looking for something different. We need to start looking for a root cause what's leading to these trends, because I don't accept these trends. I accept these kiddos, love on these kiddos, but these trends are dangerous. And so our goal is to start looking for something different, looking for different reasons these things are happening in our lives. And that's kind of led to what we call the perfect storm. And so the perfect storm is a progression that we're seeing with kiddos and families in our office. And so you may see one of these that really resonates with you. You may see that whole progression. And so when we look at them, the first big ones, and I really truly feel like is involved with most of these kiddos we see, is there was a fertility and pregnancy challenge, or an intervention during labor and delivery, whether that's a C-section or anything else. And often that stressful labor, that stressful pregnancy can lead to a stressed, colicky baby. That could be struggles with latching and sleep, digestion, and things like that. Leading to stress, sick infants and toddlers, whether that still be feeding and digestion. That could be chronic ear infections and the need of overused antibiotics. To sensory and spectrum stuck kiddos stuck in this fight or flight stress response, leading to immune struggles and health struggles and school struggles. Ultimately exhausted, angry, anxious, depressed, worn out, and fatigued teenagers. Same thing with adults. And it's a progression we're seeing that we call that perfect storm, because they lead into each other as we grow, as we develop. If we can't take that stress off their fight or flight stress response. And so ultimately, what is this perfect storm? It's the body being stressed, stuck on this fight or flight gas pedal, go, 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 and not able to calm down, relax, digest, immune function, and heal the way these kiddos were meant to. And Dr. Bruce Lipton states, the function of the nervous system is to perceive the environment and coordinate the behavior of all cells. This is health. If we can't properly perceive the environment or coordinate the action or behavior of those cells, we can't be healthy. And so when we look at these kiddos, when they're in that fight or flight stress response, our goal is to flee the bear, flee the stress that is potentially life-threatening. That's going to change the way we perceive the environment. When you walk down an alley during the day, you're going to perceive that environment much different than how you walk down that alley at night. And the same thing happens in our body, and that dictates how we coordinate and function and behave following that. And so that alters our perception of the environment, which is what we call subluxation here in our office. And we're going to talk about subluxation a little bit more, but as we have an altered perception, that alters our function. It's going to alter our motor, our gut, our immune system, our speech, our social, behavioral, and emotional struggles. And so often when we look at ADHD, ADD, sensory and behavioral struggles, I look at it as an input problem and not necessarily an output or result problem. So the problem is they're having the wrong input coming into their brain, into their body, that's dictating the outcome or the function that we're observing as parents. And if you talk about the perception of the environment, our nerves and our brain and our spine have control over every cell, tissue, and organ in our body. So every aspect of health and function are related to our nervous system. And that's why we as chiropractors are specializing in ADHD, autism, sensory struggles, behavioral struggles. That's also why it's so important to make sure there's balance within that nervous system. And again, subluxation, that stress is stuck on. So word we use often when we have misalignments and dysfunction in our spine, that's going to lead to dysfunction, interference in our nervous system, how we perceive and how we function, and it's not good. And so subluxation is something we take very seriously and we always are looking for in the office. When we talk about subluxation with parents, they're always like, well, how did we get here? What started this? Why am I where I'm at now? And so we're going to talk about what's called the 5 Ds to really talk about the progression and leading up to where we're at now. And the first one we're going to talk about is dyskinesia. That's misalignment and fixations of the spine that's leading to the rest of these Ds. And so this can start from in utero and the birthing process. And that's why we're also passionate about pregnancy in our office. We want to make sure that baby is in the right position, the pelvis is in the proper position, moving properly for an efficient, effective, safe birth for mom and baby. Now, we're going to talk about when does that first misalignment come with these kiddos, that first fixation. And I'm going to show you what I call the Moonwalking Bear. It's a video. And I want to give you a big warning first. It is graphic. It's a C-section because a lot of times when these parents are trying to figure out what led them to where we're at today, sometimes this is missed. And so we call this the Moonwalking Bear. So just as a heads up, we're going to watch this and we'll go from there. We're often seeing 60 plus pounds of pressure used on the head to pull babies out during a C-section. Oh. Now I show you guys that it's graphic, and but I do think this is the Moonwalking Bear. I do think that there is stress here, and I don't show this video to bash the medical doctors or nurses. Some of the most loving, amazing people in my life, my family, are medical doctors and nurses who are involved in this process. And intervention and C-sections can save lives. So I'm not here to knock it. I'm not here to create regret for you by any means, but clarity. I think that we can all agree that this is stressful on a baby's spine and their neck, their upper cervical spine, that puts them in this fight or flight, stress, fixated state. And again, graphic, but look at that pressure on that top of the spine in a still forming cartilaginous spine of a kiddo. We have found in our office with our patients who come in with neurodevelopment or sensory struggles 75% more of them have had a C-section or birth trauma. 75%. And again, it's not about regret, but clarity and understanding of what we can do now to counter that. The C-section rates are going up, and I don't want to get too in detail here, but there's so much value to a vaginal birth, whether that's the beneficial bacteria, squeezing the fluids from the lungs, allowing better recovery for mom, less complications, earlier and easier breastfeeding, decreased chances of asthma and obesity. A lot of these things can come from preventing a C-section. And some of us don't have the option. So there's things you can do after a C-section to better adapt and thrive with this. But we in the United States have twice the amount of C-sections that the World Health Organization recommends. And so doing what we can for natural and safe and effective births, I think, is absolutely crucial in the time right now. This is a study that took infants between 6 and 72 hours after a relatively normal birth and looked for what they called somatic dysfunction of the spine, what we call subluxation here in the office. And they found that 99 out of 100 kiddos had some kind of pattern of subluxation or dysfunction in their spine from a birth. Now that can be from a C-section, but that can also be from a normal, healthy birth. Nova, our daughter, was born in our living room, in a pool, very low interventions, under hypnosis, all these things that were very zen and comfortable. But the same point, when we got her checked within an hour of being born, she also had that subluxation stress on her spine that we got adjusted as fast as possible. So all births can have stress on that kiddo's lives. And here's some more research and references if you're looking for it. Again, these aren't opinions of mine. These are research and things that we see in the office. So feel free to reach out if you want some of this research, take a screenshot. So it's all there. The next D that we talk about is disafferentation. And this is abnormal input or perception into our brain and our nervous system that comes from that dyskinesia, that movement, that fixation in our spine. And what happens with disafferentation is our proprioception, which is good input, decreases, and our nociception, which is noise, bad input, increases. And then nociception is what these kids have, that noise, that busyness in their brain, their body that keeps them from calming, focusing, and connecting. And to kind of give you an idea of what these kids are going through, we have a little video right here.
Some kids are really bouncy and can't sit still. Some kids aren't very coordinated. Some eat food as a pile of toxic food that hurts them out and jingles their taste buds. School might be a mysterious place, but kids don't make much sense. If this affects you, you may have sensory processing disorder, and we're going to explain it here. Your body has 7 senses: vision in your eyes, hearing in your ears, touch in your skin, taste in your mouth, and smell in your nose. And you have 2 movement senses: your muscles and your sense of balance. In sensory processing disorder, these senses don't communicate right with your brain. Think of the nerves connecting your brain and senses as a set of roads. Those roads should be smooth superhighways so that the senses and brain can communicate fast. If you have sensory processing disorder, then some of your roads are bumpy and rough. You can also think of the senses as having a broken volume control. If the volume is too high, you sense too strongly. If the volume is too low, you won't feel sensation at all. In fact, you'll want more. Some kids overcome these problems as they grow older. Others need help.
So you kind of gives you an idea of what that noise that in the brain, the body's perception of the environment can have an effect on these kiddos. And again, there's a lot of things we can do. There's therapies and different things that are great for these kiddos, but if we don't affect that input, if we can't change that input into the nervous system, it's really hard to kind of come out of that. And so when we talk about proprioception, that's perception of movement, and it's absolutely crucial for the brain. It brings vital nutrients to the brain and the body. So that's where the motion comes from. A lot of times you see those kids crashing and moving all the time. They're trying to force this proprioceptive movement. And a lot of this movement comes from the spine. 60% of it comes from the spine. 33% of it, 1/3 of proprioceptive motion and nourishment to the brain, comes from the upper cervical spine, which is where we adjust and check on these kiddos who come in our office. And therefore, a subluxation becomes a sensory processing problem because we're not percepting the environment and coordinating the proper response the way we should be. And that affects all the ways we respond. And we see this with all of our spectrum sensory cases and neurological disorders in the office almost all the time. This leads to the third D, dysautonomia. And this is basically the autonomic nervous system, how our body is functioning, adapting, and working at all times. Every cell, tissue, and organ is connected by our autonomic nervous system. And Dr. Bruce Lipton, again, he has some amazing research and studies, so make sure you check his stuff out. But he states you can't be in growth and protection at the same time. And protection is that fight or flight stress response we get from these Ds, from that dysfunction in movement and fixation. And so when these kiddos are stuck in this protection all the time, they can't properly heal, they can't adapt, they can't grow and get rest that they need to. They're stuck on that gas pedal all the time. And when we look at that, this is an autonomic chart kind of showing the three stresses. We talk about the physical stress from the birth to falling as a kid to sports to even sitting at a computer desk all day. The chemical stress, the food we eat, the air we breathe, the medication and vaccines is all a balancing point. And then the emotional stress. Life is stressful, especially right now. And these three things compound on top of each other over time. And we get stuck in that gas pedal, sympathetic fight or flight response. And that leads to these sensory struggles, these immune struggles, these behavioral struggles that we see these kids in. So as a pediatric chiropractor, my goal is to get back to that balance, get back to that parasympathetic healing, growth, developmental side where these kids can start thriving and regaining their health. Another part of the autonomic nervous system that we talk about often now is the vagus nerve. This is a big one that's getting more and more research, more and more press right now. And it's because the vagus nerve, which literally means wandering nerve, you'll see on the left, it's yellow. It's going to a lot of major organs. That vagus nerve, when stimulated, that we can do through an adjustment of the upper cervical spine, stimulates the parasympathetic response, that brake pedal, rest, digest that we've been talking about. And so often with the first adjustment with these kiddos and these babies, and we'll find that they'll often have a relaxing sense, right? All of a sudden, we'll have to warn the parents, when you get home, you may have a big blowout diaper when this kiddo's been constipated for a period of time. They may have a huge long nap or longer sleep at night than you're used to. Even adults after a first adjustment will often feel kind of hazy or tired because we're finally getting them out of this fight or flight sympathetic response and allowing their nervous system to calm down. The next one is a sensory processing disorder through the parasympathetic and vagus nerve. And so what this is saying is they're finding with these sensory kiddos that the parasympathetic function is decreased. It's gone down, and so their body isn't properly functioning. And so that's why it's so important for us to increase that parasympathetic response, get out of the fight or flight system to lower those sensory disorders, lower the symptoms and effects of it. Another study that we have is the vagal intervention of the gut and the immune system. And so what the study did was it showed that by stimulating the vagus nerve, they did it through electrical stimulation, they were able to restore intestinal homeostasis and gut health. They were able to increase the immune response. And so, in my opinion, I'd rather do that through a safe, effective, simple, specific chiropractic adjustment instead of using some outside-in stimulation to allow their gut to heal, which we see with these sensory kiddos often is these gut and digestion issues, but allow that gut to heal, allow them to detox, and boost that immune system. The last D, before we talk about the fifth, so I guess the fourth, is dysponesis, which is abnormal energy output. What we see with these kiddos who have gone through a lot of these struggles is their energy input is not normal. They're having really high energy, and it's not really balanced. It's disorganized. And when we go over a testimonial and some stories in the next couple slides, I'll kind of come back to this dysponesis and this energy output. that we're seeing with these go, go, go kiddos, leading to our last D, disconnected kids. This is really what we want to be addressing is if we can address these other Ds from birth on, we can reconnect these kiddos to allow them to be healthier. So there's 3 types of perfect storms that we talk about in our office. Before I kind of go over these 3, I want to talk about labels. I'm not a huge fan of labels. I don't like putting labels and limitations on these kiddos, but these are descriptions and labels we've gotten from parents over time, explaining to us how their bodies are responding, these kids are responding. And the first one is the raging bull. This is the high energy kid, go, go, go. The next one is the drunken bull, which is low organization. And the third is the raging drunken bull, high energy, low organization. And we'll go through each of these specifically. So the first one we're going to talk about is the raging bull. This kiddo is on full gas mode all the time, go, 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 sympathetic overload. They're constantly on the go. They're proprioceptive seekers. What this means is they're running, jumping, crashing all the time. And the transitions are difficult. So they have an issue changing things up, moving from point to point, leaving places. They're spinning quickly throughout the day. Everything's just going, going, going. Even though some of these kids, some of the most well-loving, well-intentioned kiddos, they don't show a lot of remorse for their actions. They don't understand the repercussions of their actions, and they lack focus and distraction. The next one we want to talk about is the drunken bull. These kiddos are disconnected and disorganized, meaning trouble kind of connecting the dot, lack coordination, balance, just don't seem fully connected all the time. They're not super focused. They're sensory avoiders, meaning they try to get away from the sensory, try to get away from the loud sounds, the drops of a chiropractic table, the TV, music, things like that, cars driving by. They have a lower tone, muscle tone, something we measure here in the office. And then they also have speech issues. Now, the raging drunken bull is something we see often, and it's a combination of both. It's that gas pedal stuck on, go, 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 but not fully connected. And so this is a combination of stress patterns on the nervous system, stress patterns on how they behave. These are probably the most complex cases. They take longer to really create that change and take that stress off the spine and the nervous system. And they've often had diagnoses or multiple diagnoses such as ASC, ODD, and things like that. So when we talk about these three types of kiddos, we've been able to take scans, patterns, and things we've seen over time with these patients and create proper care plans and recommendations based off those experiences. In our office, we use an insight scan technology. And what this is a 3-part scan. It does a neurological scan, a muscle tone, and then HRV, which is heart rate variability. It allows us to detect hidden patterns of stress on the nervous system. And it allows us to make specific recommendations based off those patterns of stress we see with your kids, based off other kiddos we see in the office. And it allows us to track changes and observe and be objective and look for trends. It allows us to pivot as needed to make better results for you and your family. And this is absolutely crucial to us in our office. We use this every single day for your child's care and progress. And we're able to create specific adjustments based off that, adjusting the nervous system that can create these changes. So here are some stories of kiddos here in our office. Most of these are from our Rochester area. We've only been open for 5 to 6 months at this time. We've had some amazing stories, amazing changes. And some of these will be from our Seattle location as well. But here's a kiddo who came in. This is after a month of care, 1 month. Improved sensory sensitivities, better sleep, less illness, faster recovery, happier at school, happier on the bus. These are huge changes for a kiddo as well as a family at home. And you know what? Kids love getting adjusted. We have kids always arguing who gets to get adjusted first. I believe they innately know that what we're doing to their spine and their body is making a change, making them healthier, helping them connect to the world. And so these kids love it. I also think they love the treasure towards the end, but the adjustment as well. Here's 2 kiddos from our Seattle location before we moved here to Rochester. This was a dad who came to us after searching for answers. He was looking, didn't feel like the doctors he was meeting with was giving him the right answer. They were telling him, she'll grow out of it. It'll just take time. They prescribed some medications that he refused. refused to accept. And so he came to the office, and here's his review. Tree of Life Chiropractic changed our lives. Our sweet baby girl was struggling to thrive, not eating, not sleeping, and not gaining weight appropriately. She was so tight in her neck and shoulders that we couldn't see her neck. It was to the point I had to massage her neck before and after every feeding to get her to eat. She was also in so much pain she hated getting dressed. After sticking to the treatment plan, we saw an amazing improvement after each adjustment until she was 100%. Our sweet girl is healthy and happy baby thanks to Tree of Life Chiropractic Seattle. My wife and I are so impressed with our baby's success. We now go see as a family. Dr. Chelsea and Dr. Carl are amazing. This is just an amazing story that we get to be a part of in this journey. We get to be a part of. This kiddo on the right was struggling with sleep, and so we were finding that when this kiddo was getting adjusted, their nervous system was calming down, and they were able to take naps, able to sleep. And I'll tell you what, this is a happy mom when baby's sleeping. Here's another kiddo in our office. This is a super sweet little dude. After his first progress exam, seemed to be more relaxed. School is still, we're still working on it. He's doing better and better. He improved, stopped wetting the bed. He's sleeping better. He's moving better. He said his body hurts less. And, he was doing better at school. He was coming home happier from school, seemed less stressed. When we did this progress exam, he was excited to tell me that I actually had a sleepover at a friend's house without the concern, without the worry of having an accident over there. That's huge. That's life-changing for this kiddo to be able to socialize with this kid without worrying about that kind of stuff. And you'll see on the right, you'll see a scan, that upper cervical spine that we talked about has a huge role on the parasympathetic nervous system, and that stress that can come from falls in the birthing process was bright red. And so that's an area we are really focusing on here. Here's a kiddo. This is a special one for Dr. Chelsea and myself. This is a mom's recommendation for us. So she said, Tree of Life Chiropractic has been a vital part for my and my son's life for over 4 years. When my son was only 6 weeks old, I started a wild journey of doctors, tests, surgeries, appointments, various therapies, and ultimately diagnosis. One of the various forms of treatment that I chose for my son was a pediatric chiropractic, and I know that has changed, positively impacted his life. Dr. Chelsea and Dr. Carl are amazing. We all started to see great improvements with my son, his connection with his strength and his body, and his overall health within months of the visits with Dr. Chelsea. My postpartum recovery was not easy, and I too started to see Dr. Chelsea for chiropractic care. I can say firsthand that I am a healthier person, a better mom, stronger, and in less pain than I was before seeing Dr. Chelsea and Dr. Carl. The Moes have since moved to New York and have opened a new practice. If you are a mama who is pregnant, a postpartum mama, or a mama considering chiropractic for your kiddo, I can wholeheartedly recommend Tree of Life. This kiddo had all the tests, all the surgeries and appointments and therapies, and being able to see him just get more connected to life, connected to his mom, was amazing. We call him the mayor of our office just because the progression. We were able to see him start walking, connecting, playing, talking, and engaging with other kids in our office. And it was just an amazing story. And this isn't just a one-off. We see this constantly in our office. And we're just privileged to be a part of this journey. Calming the storm. I talked about these kiddos who are go, go, go. And if you look on the bottom, you're going to see what's called the total energy index. And this kiddo, over a period of time, almost 4 months, not only was the muscle tone, which you'll see on the top, got more normalized and better, but on the bottom, his total energy went from 210 to 123. Now, our goal here is as close to 100 as possible. And so that's a huge change. This kiddo was able to calm down, connect, control his energy in a way different level than he was before, in just over a 4-month period of time. Here's one of our most recent kiddos. She is an absolute sweetheart. If you come in my personal office, you'll see some of her artwork hanging above my door. But her mom had noted in her most recent progress exam improved sleep and improved behavior. And no, this is during this whole COVID change of not being able to school in new environments for these kiddos, changes in environment. And so it's a struggle for a lot of these kids. And so we're seeing an improved behavior, better family life, emotional stress, sleep. She hasn't had an ear infection, better regulation of mood, and better anxiety, able to control energy. So absolutely amazing changes happening here in our office. And really what we're doing, we're analyzing the nervous system, taking a complete history, and creating adjustments that can allow that body to become balanced and function the way it was meant to be functioning. Here's a kiddo. This was from our Seattle office. This was a teenager, and autism and sensory struggles was his life. And through a period of time, we were able to normalize his autonomic activity. Remember, we talked about the autonomic nervous system. It controls every cell, tissue, and organ in his body. And you'll see from the left to the right that improvement towards normal, towards balance, was drastic. This kiddo was able to become more independent at school without the same help. He was able to go into normal classes with more kids, larger environments. He was able to fly across country and travel and do some things that are really cool for him. He was able to gain weight, which was, if you know, with sensory struggles, weight gain and digestion are huge. So he was able to gain weight and get back to becoming healthier and healthier. An amazing change. And so with those stories, I hope that kind of brings it all together for you guys. But we're not done. I want to encourage you to ask questions. If you have questions, you can comment below, send us a message, give us a phone call. We'd love to chat with you. If we don't have an answer, we're not going to make it up. We're going to help you find an answer and point you in a direction that we can. Another step that you parents can do at home right now is reduce what we call the 3 T's. That trauma, that physical stress on your kiddo, the toxins, that chemical stress, what they're putting into your kiddo, and that thoughts. Let's control their emotions. Let's control their environment so they can be more calm and allow them to get that rest and healing that they need. And lastly, guys, if you're watching this, I know this was a long video, a long webinar, but I can't say enough. Let's get your child scanned. Let's get your kiddo checked. Let's get your entire family checked, because you don't know what's going on unless you look, unless you see it. Like we talked about the Moonwalking Bear. Let's look at that nervous system and then make a game plan from there. There's no catch to it, but if we can find out how the neurology is functioning, how the nervous system is adapting to the environment, we can then make educated decisions to hopefully help your kiddo. And so something we're doing here is from this webinar, you can message us, go to our website at treeofliferock.com, or give us a call at our office. We have a special VIP pass for you. So it takes $100 off that initial visit, which includes the consultation, exam, all of the insight scans we talked about, and report of findings, to create a game plan for you guys. As you'll see here, these are pictures of our Tree of Life family. You have Nova, my daughter, Dr. Chelsea, myself. You have Bree and Thomasina. We get checked at least once a week, if not more, because we know that this is allowing us to be healthier. We want to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. So if you're watching this, I want to encourage you, let's get checked. Let's get scanned and see what's going on with you and your family's life. And a common question we get often is, how long does it take? And this was a great diagram I found, and it shows your age based off your brain's ability to change in response to experience or chiropractic care is kind of goes inside with that. And what we're seeing is these younger kiddos can respond a lot faster, but as we age, as we get older, day by day, it's going to take more work, more effort, more time to create the change we're looking for. So there's no better time than now to get started in making some change in the way your brain's ability to adapt, function, and thrive. And lastly, guys, I want to end you with my very favorite quote from Dr. B.J. Palmer. He was the developer of chiropractic, and this is something our office lives by. And that quote is, "We never know how far-reaching something we may think, say, or do will affect the lives of millions tomorrow." For us, that involves chiropractic, but that's also how we engage with our community, how we love on our neighbor, and we take care of you guys. So be blessed. Make sure you send us a message. We'd love to hear from you, and have a great day.